So you've seen my shots like this, right? So you probably think that you need some crazy expensive camera to produce work like this. Well, technically the answer is no. Whether you're using a DSLR like I am, a mirrorless camera like many other professionals are, or you're just using your phone. Today, I'm gonna give you 5 amazing, game-changing tips that's gonna improve your photography, plus 1 pro tip at the end that you're definitely not gonna wanna miss. And this can also apply to whether you're doing video or photography. Let's get into it. All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about, and probably one of the most important things, is lighting. This is key regardless of where you are, regardless of your gear. Lighting is key. I don't care how expensive your camera is or how cheap it is. If your lighting is off, your images are going to be off. Your footage is going to be off. So the main thing to do is to avoid harsh lighting. Like shooting midday in the sun, not really ideal. So you kind of want to stick to the soft lighting and use natural light whenever possible. If you're outside, you want to aim for golden hour or blue hour, but definitely golden hour, because that's where you're going to get the best light for your imagery. Now this could be right after sunrise or right before sunset. Now if you're not outdoors and you're shooting indoors, you want to get near a window. You want to use a soft light with more flattering light direction, and try to avoid using overhead lights. They create what we call raccoon eyes. And you'll see that if you're shooting midday and the sun's coming right down, the brow creates a shadow right here, and it darkens the eyes. You can't see them, and it looks like a raccoon. All right, tip number 2. A great photo isn't just about the subject. It's about how you frame it. Your composition is absolutely everything. Your subject is just one part of that composition. Be it a person, a car, a hamburger, a bird, whatever it may be, they are part of your composition. And one good way to do this is to use your rule of thirds. All cameras have this in their settings where you could turn on your rule of thirds grid and you can see where your subject is placed in the frame. And it's always best to place your subject in the cross section of those lines. Another key tip for this is to also use leading lines. They could be roads, fences, or buildings, anything that you can put in your composition to draw the viewer's eye to your subject. If you don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about leading lines, it could be the angles on a building, the way the road goes into a horizon, the way the fence cuts behind your subject, anything that causes the viewer to look and follow and essentially lead the eye to your subject. Tip number 3, angles. Experiment with your angles. Move around, because shooting at the right angle can make all of the difference. You never really want to shoot directly head on because it makes for a boring shot. You want to experiment a little bit. Low angles or worm's eye, or even what we call shooting tall, makes your subject look more powerful. Bigger, high angles create a much more dynamic feel. And also, like I said, don't forget to experiment, because moving around and experimenting with your angles can always lead to interesting results. So now, on tip number 4. We're going into focus and depth of field. A blurry or unfocused shot, instant deal breaker. It's done. Unless you're using like one of the newer phones that has that kind of depth of field corrector, there's no way to really recover that photo. I know I've had many occasions where I thought something was in focus. I go into Photoshop, I blow it up, and it's just not in focus. That picture is unusable regardless of how good I think it is. So always make sure that your subject is tack sharp. If you're on your phone, you can go ahead and tap your screen, tap the subject to make sure that your subject is properly focused. If you're using a DSLR or mirrorless camera, you can adjust your f-stop down to a 1.8 or 2.8, 2.5, 3.0, however low your lens will take you, so you can get a very, very nice optical bokeh, which is far better than a digital bokeh, let me tell you. And if you're new to this and you really don't know what bokeh is that blurry background look. where your subject is in focus, and if you look behind them, it's like that nice blurry background, so all your attention goes to the subject. That's bokeh. So use that, and always make sure to check your focus before snapping your photo. So now we're at tip 5. Now, even the best shots can look pretty dull without some retouching or post-processing. The good news, you really don't need the super fancy software to do it. It's recommended, but you don't need it. You know what I'm saying? You can boost the exposure, tweak the contrast a little bit, and really adjust the colors to make the image pop. Now just don't go overboard, because subtle changes make all the difference. Alright, so you've made it this far through the video. It's time for that pro tip that I promised you. A technically perfect photo is great. I'm a technical photographer, so I stand by that. But the best ones have emotion. They tell a story. There's movement, things in your shot that make them memorable. Don't just think about how you're taking the shot, but why you're taking the shot. What's the point of this frame? What story are you trying to convey? Capture moments that feel alive. That's it. I want to know which tips helps you the most. Let me know down in the comments. I would love to engage in that type of conversation. And if you found this helpful, please like and subscribe. It helps a lot. It really does. And make sure you hit that bell icon so that way you can get notified when I update this channel and I'm posting more photography and video tips. But now that we're done here, go out there and start shooting. I want to see what you got. Peace.